So day 2 of Everfree Northwest has officially begun. And the first event I attended was, as you may have guessed it, the voice acting panel, with the likes of Kathy Westluck, Marcus Toyshed, Michael Dobson, and Marika Hendricks. If you wish to view the panel in its entirety, feel free to click on the invitation link provided.
Voice of Gilda the coffee. And the coffee. We will also have Kathy Westluck, voice of Spike the Dragon and please give me your best yeah for Michael Dobson. And finally, Rebecca Shoykit, singing voice of Twilight Sparkle and Sunset Shimmer.
Hey, RailPony, what's up, man? It's good to see everybody. How you doing? Good?
How is the crowd out there? I need to give a shout out to Line Monkey. So you guys, how are you enjoying the con? How are you enjoying the con?
Good.
Good? Having a lot of fun?
Yep.
Gotten to see some sights?
No.
Sights.
Sights?
These.
We've seen the
We've
inside
seen
site.
this room a lot. The vendors hall is amazing. Have you guys been to the vendors hall?
Yeah.
I just recognized some faces here who were at Pony Stock last night. Right up front row. Oh my gosh, some amazing dancers. That was a fun show. Thanks for coming. If you were there.
Love your costumes.
Yeah.
You have wonderful, yeah, there's a lot of great cosplays. I'm trying to find one in particular.
I see a twirling owl.
I see a vinyl scratch.
There's a
over
rainbow
there.
dash over there, look!
Do we,
A ton of them.
do we have any
Applejack.
spikes?
Wait.
Do we have any spikes in the
Yeah,
audience?
where's the spikes? Oh yeah, awesome! Awesome, yeah! Go purple and green!
Are you Applejack at the back? I can't see.
Derpy.
Derpy! The lights are very bright over there in the corner. Hey, Derpy.
Derpy is best muffin bunny.
Saw a couple of flims and flams.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of flams. I don't know if you're in here now, but yesterday.
Some lovers of Pinkie Pie. Yes.
Millions of Pinkie Pies.
Yeah.
Lots of rainbow dashes.
What have been your favorites so
Lots of
far?
Fluttershy's.
There's a Fluttershy.
What are your favorite cosplays you've seen so far? I know the contest is right after this
So
panel.
many.
It's right after this panel. Oh yeah. I saw. Give me a second.
Wait,
It was an
attention
amalgamation of.
Discord.
It was a Discord and Q combo. He was wearing a Star Trek jersey and had different legs and stuff built on. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Wow.
There were real twins who were Flim and Flam.
Yeah! Zach and his brother.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
You'd think he was is he a voice actor, really?
Yesterday on the one of the autograph sessions, every time you did that, I jumped 3 feet out of my seat.
And I fainted.
Autograph room. So as not to fry Kathy and Marissa.
So what you're saying is, it's not weird that Jim and Jay thought of me for the role?
No, it's not weird at all.
Only in some ways.
Wait a second, let's just bring in Dobson.
But you know what? You know what? I'm kind of loving it because this guy's got total muscles, right? And I'm like, look at mine, okay? Looking good.
Pose it, Spike.
Can't grow a mustache yet, though. Thank goodness.
Just keep working on it. It'll-
Give yourself another 40
Give
years.
yourself, yeah, give me a few years.
And a blonde mohawk.
Yeah, right.
All right. How about a couple standard questions? You know, maybe this is someone's first time at a convention, and maybe someone would, you know, like to know how you guys got into voice acting.
Aw. Being weird.
Spending lots of times in the hole, eh?
Yeah. That's key right
Who
there.
said that?
You want actual answers?
That'd be nice. Yeah.
I fell into this. I didn't know what voiceover meant even. And I was actually working at the CBC as a new associate producer. I was a newbie. I was 20-something, early 20s. And I got a promotion to go to Vancouver for a couple of years to be an associate producer for radio music department. And the host said, "You got a really nice voice. Have you ever thought of doing voiceover?" And I said, "Voice what?" And he said, "Voiceover." And I was like, "Nope." And he said, "Well, you know what? I'll help you make a demo and we'll get that going and then you should try, you know, go out and do that." I said, "Oh, that sounds like a fun hobby." And so I started to do it. I made a demo and I was like, "Oh, that's great. Now what else do I have to do here? Blah, blah, blah." And then it just took off and I was like, something's happening. Something's going on here. And here I am many years later. I'm a glacier. I'm of the Neosate, whatever the eras are that are. Never mind, let's move on.
But
That's my
I
story.
took a workshop with Kathy, actually, when I first moved to Vancouver.
right.
A long, long time ago.
Didn't you guys too? The Dobson didn't. One of your.
And she's a really good teacher. So if you ever
Didn't
see
see
a
that
Kathy
one.
Westlook voice acting workshop and you're into voice acting, go with Kathy.
I really do forget. But I have to personally say, and I say this to Rebecca, and she's like, "Oh my God, again?" But I think she has the most beautiful voice in the universe.
Yeah, it's a
and
great voice.
to hear her singing on Pony just makes me.
That's great. Like last time was great to listen to.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, it's fun, super fun to be able to sing such great, well-written music. I gotta thank Daniel Ingram for that. Like he's got some amazing talent and a talented team too. Like he's got arrangers and producers that work with him that take some of his ideas and make them soar. The orchestration, like Stefan, and oh my gosh. So it's just really, it's easy to sing the lyrics that the writers write and the melodies that Daniel writes. And also he takes my voice into consideration, which is really cool.
That's great. Yeah.
Like he's gotten to know me and spent enough time working with my singing voice and saying, okay, well this range would be really nice for Rebecca, or this is a really good Twilight sounding lick or line or something that he knows that I can do well and shine at. So it's kind of nice to have somebody write with your voice in mind. It's really special, cool, very special.
And ranges are a big deal. Like if they don't write music within your range, it's tough to hit the notes, and it's a real challenge. So they have to really be on the ball with that. And
Yeah.
yet this one has quite the range.
And we all want it to sound good, you know. We want the end product to be amazing for you guys, because that's why we do it. We do it to produce incredible art that you guys can enjoy. So we try to do our best. So hopefully it's not too hard.
Before I continue, I want to bring up a little something for Penstroke and other Pastons readers.
Now you look prim and proper.
With that out of the way, back to the panels.
And what it takes to get attention in the fandom. So round of introductions here. My name is Horizon. I am, as well as being a fan fiction author, I've got one story with 4-digit upvotes, which for me. I am also one of the 5 curators of the Royal Canterlot Library, which posts author interviews to fan fiction. And so I do a lot of reading of stories, looking for literary merit and finding ways to spotlight folks.
Okay. I'm Ken Stroke. Most well known for the story Past Sins, but I've got a dozen others that are up that people would probably recognize, like Better Living, the Drop of Moonshine series, the Into the Depths series, and all of those things. I'm also currently the most followed author on fan fiction, just about under 30 away from breaking 6,000. I think.
You were saying earlier today 5970. So
yes.
You're coming up on 6,000.
Yes.
Oh, I'm Tony Genovese, also known as Gary Oak on fanfiction.net. I'm a pre-reader of the Royal Guard. I'm also a creative writing major in school, and I'm an oddball on this panel because I don't even have 500 followers on fanfic. I don't have any super crazy stories in the Canterlot Library, and I don't have anything with 4-digit upvotes. But my accomplishments include writing pony fanfiction and submitting it to university workshops and getting A+ on it. Episode scripts, they're called spec scripts. No, I didn't actually write for the series. I hypothetically did, but I actually didn't. That's what a spec script's supposed to be. I've also written a story about Scootaloo that I actually got Scootaloo's voice actress Madeline Peters to read at last year's BronyCon. And on top of that, partly for my pony work, I also won a fiction award for Outstanding Achievement this year. So I'm on the right track in real life.
My name is Pike-O-Pie. I've edited for two fics with over 10,000 views and 4-digit likes. My first story was featured for I think it was 5 minutes on fiction and got dropped off. And I haven't been back since, but I spent a lot of time editing, pre-reading. My degree is in psychology, so I hope to bring a little bit more of a psychological, this is what, people are attracted to, and there's a difference between stuff in the past that may be popular and isn't now, and stuff in the past that wasn't popular and is now, and why that kind of happens.
So the first thing that we have to say in any panel on getting popularity for your stories, the 3-word answer is time travel to 2011. Yes, that's how you get popular. But for most of us who do not have the power to warp space-time to our whims, we're here, we're now, we're publishing in 2014. So what do you do to get a story attention? Given the current state of the fandom. What are things that have worked for you guys in that regard?
Unfortunately, I was there in 2011, so I'm kind of the example of what?
Yeah. Well, but you didn't post your story on FinFiction until later, and there's a difference between you and K-Cat, who arguably at the time that you had just posted on FinFiction, K-Cat's Follow Question was probably the most read fit. We don't know.
No, it's the timeline is definitely I lived on Google Docs for a little while. I didn't jump to FinFiction straight away, but then while K-Cat was still finishing Follow Question, I started to pull things over. First couple ones I got, hey, you're stealing stories. Oh, I know, you're the real person. But yeah, so actually all of Past Sins' current numbers and all of my stories' current numbers are not including any of the numbers that they may have previously garnered on Equestria Data, because there's no way to
have to track me down and say, I read this. So
yeah.
Just take a Sharpie and have it in zero again.
Yes.
Okay, fine. The politeness word. I think a lot of
the Canadian?
Yeah, you beat me. Good job, Pike.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Calm down. This may sound a bit jaded, but I think a lot of popularity actually has to do with being lucky. But the thing is, there are ways to go about it. You need to play to win, sort of. You need to, like, it's being in the right place at the right time, but if you don't try and put yourself out there, you're never going to be in the right place at the right time. So if you work hard, focus on excellence, keep trying to improve, keep trying new things, experiment, put yourself out there, enter contests, come to conventions, talk to people, just do everything you can. Eventually, you will get a break. That's my theory on becoming popular. Like, look, Harry Potter went through 36 rejections before it got published, and J.K. Rowling's the first writer to get $1 billion for
She
fiction.
disputes that.
Really?
Yes. Because the thing was, she was supposed to be the first one to get $1 billion from books, but part of it was movies, and she said she never actually reached $1 billion. There's $1 billion earned, but she had spent some of that while making it, so.
Okay.
Well, gosh, that just wipes her achievement right out.
That's still $1 billion more than any of us have.
But to bounce off what the area was saying on it's like it is a matter of kind of being in the right place at the right time, but at the same time, you can. It's like another way to kind of grow is to get the exponential growth. It's like your first story, you get a few views, you get a few followers. Well, then those few followers, if they like what you're doing and you do continue, it's like this. This was something Wanderer D signal boosted on film fiction of that the people on the that someone it's like someone had an analysis of the most followed writers on film fiction, and they usually tended to a few things. It's like they are an author that has a flagship story, and they can have a bunch of supporting things that make that are also fairly good and enjoyable. That is the definition of me. Past Sins is my flagship, and I have a dozen or so others. Then there's ones that just have their flagship, like K-Cat, that's the only story she's posted up, but it's such a massive flagship. And then there's authors who focus on one thing in particular, like they just do comedies, or if you're short circuits and explosions, you just are utterly prolific.
Romance is common. There's a lot of
Romance comedy. It's like because it's like that. It's like your followers are kind of your audience, and if you're writing to them, then you're going to continue to maintain the followers you already have, and you're going to get more on. So it's an exponentially going thing, because it's like, hey, you have enough followers that when you first post a story, they alone can get you into the lower rungs of the feature box, and then, oh, look, there's a story, and that gets you more followers, and it's kind of, it's a mass collider, I guess, and eventually you'll hit critical mass.
Yeah, the feature box is, I mean, it's an achievement in itself, but the main thing about the feature box is that it's an accelerator. When you hit that feature box, all of a sudden your story is in the public eye for a couple of days, and the views from the feature box keep you in the feature box, and continue to accumulate extra attention on your story. So one good goal, if you want to get noticed, is to see what you can do to get, as Spencer was saying, that basic level of attention that's enough to get those multiplier effects again.
Well, and the way that when you look at getting attention, people they just look at numbers. And there's different numbers you can look at. A lot of people look at followers and they say, hey, at almost 6,000, and I did check it is almost 6. I was wrong. I apologize. Yeah. And then it's 6,000 followers. Well, if you look at musicians or people on YouTube, they're not considered big until they have tens of thousands. But the thing is, hundreds of thousands of people have read Past Sins. I mean, it's over the 100,000 mark, largely because of that initial boost. So how do you measure it? I mean, do you measure by the 6,000 people who follow him, or the over 100,000 people who've read his story? Also, and one of the ways to look at that is actually favorites on film fiction, and specifically the favorite to like ratio. A lot of it will determine exactly how many people really like your fic, because and you get people favoriting stories more when it's something that's a continual story, or where there's going to be other updates and stuff. Like there will be other stories for Past Sins that are kind of related every once in a while, or posts that Enstroke will make. So people who follow Past Sins, they'll follow the story. So when he makes a blog post, he can say people who follow the story can be notified. The problem with that is that those people now don't follow him; they just follow that story. So it makes it hard to calculate.
Yeah. And one thing to note if you're depressed about view numbers. In Canada, 5,000 copies sold constitutes a bestseller. Just so you know. Really? Yes.
Going to Canada!
Wait. That's for a reason.
Yeah, that's because we only have, like 37 million people or whatever it is.
Aww, that's so cute.
Yeah. We're like kind of giant California, except cold.
And sometimes
very cold.
It's like, just to make people walk, because like, that 5,000 that's so sold. That's the size of my hometown in Wyoming.
Yeah.
5,000. And I know a town of 5. It is a post office.
It's a post office, general store, and miscellaneous goods.
Great. Stop sign somewhere, right? Yeah.
I meant to ask this to Penstroke yesterday, but unfortunately he wasn't at Literary Merit. This is gonna... It actually kind of works a bit when it comes to getting popular. I've noticed that some people usually go into either a story or a movie or something like that that is written, and there's times where they go, oh, I've seen this before, or I had absolutely no idea where it was going to go. So the question basically is, did you, whenever you do something new, do you know from the beginning where it's going to go, or do you build it up as you go, or this is basically kind of like the second one, but do you add stuff based on fan comments?
It all depends on how you're writing. Like, if you're going to do a story that's like chapter by chapter, then you have the opportunity to bring in fan comments and explore. It's like Kit Kat, that's part of the reason some aspects of the story bloated out near the, like, explore.
Kit Kat had some big points, but then actually changed them and removed some and added others based off of the comments.
Yeah.
Once you had an idea.
But if you're pre-writing, like Gary suggested, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like, then it's like, so it all depends. Like, sometimes people want you to go where they think it's going to go because, oh, I want that ending. It's, but at the same time, it's like I'm referencing consistency again. I put something on the cover I knew was going to get attention, but I knew I was going to be able to twist a bit to being sudden change, and that was Twilight with being ready to be hung. Yep. It's like, I never intended to kill Twilight in past sins, but I wanted to get as close as I could before I pulled that twist. And it's like, it's funny because I had to ruin it a little bit because I'm sure people in the comments that it's like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to read it. Twilight is like, okay, I will give you this promise. It is rated everyone.
I was one of the ones who sent one of those comments.
What?
I was one of the ones who sent one of those comments.
Yeah, this is getting a bit far from making the big time, but I mean, one thing that we can kind of turn that back in is the idea of, what promises are you making the reader that will draw them in?
Because if you make a promise to the reader and you fulfill that promise,
you are setting a hook. Yes.
It's like that person's got a greater incentive to become a follower. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it's a shipping fic between Applejack and Draenor, but oh, at the end I'm not going to actually ship them. They're just going to be friends. It's like the person who came there for the ship is going to be like, no, I want that.
The beginnings of stories are very important. Don't mislead your readers.
Yes.
Love your shirt, Gary. Very nostalgic.
So as far as
Write a villain / the redemption of evil, because as we all know, sometimes villains are better than the heroes. Yeah. So we're going to start with some quick introductions. Let's start down on the end over there.
Oh. I'm Brony Rider. Is that all you want?
How about yourself?
Oh. I'm here because I wrote the story in the comic book with the Maniac story, as well as the Secret Life of Rarity and the sequels to that. Those are my villain credentials. So,
Hi, I'm Seacat Mila, and I wrote a couple stories about Discord. One was called A Pony Sympathy, and one was called Deja Discord.
Hi guys,
I'm Heather Newfer. I wrote on the IDW My Little Pony comic book series. I wrote the Nightmare Rarity arc, as well as the Bookworm arc, and the Pirate arc, and a few other things in the future. Glad I'm here. You guys are awesome.
I'm PK. I'm here because I wrote a story called Antipodes back in 2011, and I've been writing its coattails ever since.
It's okay, I'm not going to use the mic just because I'm loud. I'm Penstroke. While I've written several villains for several different stories, the thing I'm most well known for is Past Sins, which is at its core completely a villain redemption. So.
I'm Pico Pie. I will also not be using the mic because I run this crazy show. That's it. So the way we do this is we do allow people to comment and continue off of what we're doing. We like feedback with the audience. So if people have something they want to say, feel free to raise your hand. We'll try to get to you. We might take a few minutes going back and forth if we got some good synergy going. We will also, I don't know if Heather wants to be able to answer some questions specifically towards the end.
Sure, whatever.
Okay, well.
It's like when we're asking questions, it's like,
yeah, so we'll try to work in a few questions that can be directed a little bit more towards Ms. Heather towards the end, but in the meantime, let's try and keep it a little bit more towards the topic at hand. We don't want to bother her too much. So yes, villains. Villains are the opposite of heroes, obviously. And the thing about that, oh really? Yes. Are you my villain? Are you his villain? No. The thing is that villains can reflect heroes, and a lot of heroes deal with, they see, part of the villain, or they see themselves in part of the villain. A lot of villains see themselves in part of the hero. Sometimes villains are redeemed. My favorite villain of all time is Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah!
And there's a lot of stories that focus around redeeming villains. We did a pre-con contest. The entire point was to redeem villains and antagonists in the show and in the comics. And number one story that we got, the most common story, was actually, I just word blank, from season 2. Sombra, yes. So Sombra was actually our most common villain that people wanted to redeem, and we had a lot of variety because the thing about Sombra is we don't know a lot about him. And there's a lot of villains we don't know about, and sometimes that makes them better and sometimes that doesn't. So what I think we're going to do, starting off with, is we're going to go down the line, and we're just going to, what are some of the things that stand out with good villains for each of us. So let's start at the end.
The one kind of thing I really find I enjoy in the villains are the ones that are the heroes of their own story. They think they're righting some great wrong or doing something that will make the world a better place, but they're going about it in such a way that, oh look, those are nice things. Really
Upgrade.
I will pause for a moment so we can get this settled and then.
There we
I know, there we are. So, the villain that is the hero of their own story is one that has everything rationalized in their mind. Everything that they're doing makes sense, and there's it isn't, no, you don't understand, it doesn't have to be this way, but it's no, I've thought this through. I am doing this for very specific reasons, and I know this will be better in the end. And it's it also becomes part of the thing of, it's the villain sometimes is just the person who loses. It's the kind of the paradigm of history is written by the winners. And so if you have Rebel, it's what's the difference between a traitor and a rebellious uprising for greatness? It depends who won and what the people who remain in power decide to label it as. So Sometimes you can be the villain without after the fact. You may not take anything.
It'll take us a second to get used to that. We'll get to questions right after we go through this, just so we don't have to interrupt the process. My degree is in psychology, and I'm a very character-driven reader and writer. And the thing that matters most to me in a villain is there a reason that that they are the way they are? They can be completely insane, make no sense, if you know why they are that way. You see a lot of horror films with they're a little bit more adult topic, but they do what they do because they have lost their mind. Some don't even know why they do what they do. And then you have other villains who they think they're the hero because when they were young, them and their friends, they were treated badly for whatever reason, and when they grow up, they want to right a wrong. And now they are actually wronging others because they're so tunnel visioned on that one thing. But having a reason for them to act and believe the way they are, whether it's they have a tick because they got injured and now they have a little bit of Tourette's, or something else. What puts them where they are, that backstory, helps make villains so much deeper, because now you can say, hey, this hero and this villain have this similar trait that's bothering them both, or bothering one of them and not the other, but the reason why is because they both had this similar experience. Now these two characters have a lot more depth in their relation. And so we did have a question over here first. So
Role taking afterwards is just being able to return and have a life beyond the villainy, which is what happens it's like I remember you covering your ears, so I'm trying to be respectful. But
pass in spoiler.
But yeah, it all depends. It's like when they're not doing the villain, they need to have something else to do. If it's young. If the character's young enough, then sometimes it's just growing up into something different. But if they're an adult, then it is kind of finding that up or calling, and that itself can be a whole story in itself, somewhat like Zuko from Avatar, is that he stopped chasing the Avatar. Well, what do I do now? Do I just stay and be a waiter at my grandfather's tea shop in Ba Sing Se? Or do I go on to grander things? But, and as to how the redemption actually happens, it all depends on the villain and how deep they are in it. Sometimes it's like it's like the question I've heard history asked is like, if you were given Hitler bacon,
Hitler had been accepted into art school.
it's like you find a clone of Hitler from German evil scientist things, and it's just like a 10-year-old. Do you kill him as soon?
Kill baby Hitler?
Yeah. Do you kill baby Hitler?
Is it morally wrong to kill Hitler if he's a baby?
But it's like sometimes characters need a reset to do it. They need something that will kind of kick them down to something where they aren't the top of villainy, because why do they have a reason to change if they're on the top of the heap? If they get knocked to the bottom, like for example, a villain gets ousted by another villain. This is what happens in Despicable Me. As part of one of the side plots is Gru's getting ousted by Vector. And it's like that becomes a thing that's driving him to change in degree because Vector is being evil. And it's like you can't fight evil sometimes with evil, sometimes you have to fight it with good. That is just like that they also have to deal with is what does everyone else think after the fact? It's like, because sometimes it's like some people will hold grudges, and it's just the nature. And it's like someone themselves can become a villain of their own now because that you aren't punishing that villain. You're letting them walk out free. No, I will kill them. I will create this massive plan of doom. Yeah, so it's like sometimes that itself can be the own challenge, and that can turn into a temptation to go back to being evil just because. Why not be what everyone wants you to be? What sometimes it would seem.
Appropriate for our audience at all. That we want to try and keep things on the site away from drama, and making sure that our younger audience is seeing things that are appropriate and whatnot, because there are other outlets for that kind of stuff.
I think it's worth bringing up that there's some weird precedent for some things. I know we kept up. I think Vault of Equestria is still up there, and that gets pretty grisly in the later chapters. There was one chapter up there, I don't know. So that's the one example. The other table was Cupcakes, which we had a lot of people emailing us about, which I mean, everyone in here probably, hopefully no one in the front row knows what Cupcakes is.
I feel like Follow Equestria was grandfathered in. Like it was accepted before we had rigorous.
Before we had that type of standard. Cupcakes we did eventually take back down.
Yeah.
We retroactively just decided not to do it. But there are exceptions like that, and the only answer you can give in that sense is that it was a different time, and there was less content in the fandom in general. There were a few people visiting the site. At that point, we weren't using anything that looked like it was spelled decently and was actually long enough. And the fact that it was as long as it was, nothing as consistent as it wasn't as popular as it still is, kind of had a different set of circumstances there. So I'm not saying like certain things that were popular enough get us to get by the rules, but there were different times and different standards.
There's also another like exception, like remember the Dot Mob series and stuff like that. That was definitely PG-13 and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's also put up because it's also just exceptionally well done. And you know, heavy warnings on all of that kind of stuff. I think we want to be able to share all the good, as much of the good stuff that's in the fandom as we can, and we do also can trust a lot of you guys to make this. You just love making them sweat, don't you?
As I do. If you haven't looked at the cards in Twilight Secret Shipfic, you should. Those are the letters.
So good. They're all of them.
But just to close this up, I guess, is that it can be hard. Yeah, you've been a long-time follower of the site. Yeah, sometimes we put out stuff that we might make a mistake on, and it's generally the public sees it as like, oh, that's too risky for Equestria Daily, and sometimes we miss up on things. But we're just people, and we just try our best with it. And we also really appreciate you guys' like feedback and that kind of stuff. It kind of shapes what we do accept and stuff like that. And we do like to try to give everything a fair chance if we can.
Just one last note. EQD is a programmer's worst nightmare, speaking as one, that there are no clear-cut rules about what we accept and what we don't. We can put down pretty hard rules on, no gore, no porn or anything like that, but everything else, it's got to be looked at by a human, and humans make mistakes, and humans get tired, and we haven't eaten for 16 hours or something like that. So if stuff falls through the cracks, we apologize, and sometimes things just are on the line where we just have to err on the side of no. It's not something we can help, but we appreciate you sending it in anyway. We love you guys, and you're the reason the site's afloat in the first place.
Aww.
What tail? I drew it in.
So I guess we should all just go down the line.
I know.
But I'm gonna preface this with I'm not actually Zapisto, I'm PK. But
I've been lying all this time.
I've been using you to get restaurant reservations for 2 days.
But basically, what happened to me is I had just seen a lot of the GIFs.
GIFs?
The GIFs.
Raise your hand if it's GIFs.
GIFs. Raise your hand if it's GIFs.
You are my people.
Okay, so I kept seeing the GIF in particular that I remember that got me wondering, like, what the heck is this show? Is of Bridal Gossip, Pinkie Pie doing her evil enchantress dance.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was the episode where we all decided we wanted to keep doing this.
Yes. Yeah,
that was
exactly.
solidified it for everyone.
Yeah, but that I remember seeing that.
I couldn't get that song in my head for years.
And then, so I saw the GIFs, and I kept seeing more and more of this stuff, and I just remember going like, why are people even talking about a My Little Pony cartoon? Why? Like, what? Is this a joke? So I went and I saw the threads on Co, and I'm like, these people are serious. So, I went and I watched the first episode and was like, oh, it was alright. And I didn't, this was in like December, or like the beginning of December of 2011, or 2010. when I watched the first episode, and I thought it was just kind of okay, and then I forgot about it for a couple weeks, and then I watched it again. I was like, I should give it another chance. So I watched it again, and I watched both parts of the two-parter, and I was like, oh, that was actually pretty good. And then I watched all of them up to that point, which was Sonic Rain Boom, I think was the first episode I saw on TV. Yeah, I did it all in one day. Well, it was a lot less impressive back then. There were only like 5 episodes. So I officially entered the fandom in the end of January 2011. And yeah, that's how I got my start with horse business.
Horse news.
No, we can't say horse news because...
Sadly, when the panel ended, I couldn't get a photo with Serial Velocity. But with that out of the way, time for something I've been waiting for a long time.
What is pink? I'm sorry, guys.
No, the moment of truth.
Yeah, you have video proof.
Thank you so much.
Back to Pony Stock. The person that kicked us back into the musical night was Brony Mike, accompanied by Sex Brony, who was also at last year's opening sing-along, and Hey Last Fans. Yeah, you play those drums fast.
Ladies and gents, I want to congratulate or thank Aquamarina for that song. I probably should thank her in advance. She is the artist who's getting a bit of feedback here. Test. There we go. creativity with patience and safety. In the body there extends the shoulder and the arm extends from high and low. Goes and low to the upper arm and the elbow. Next to the forearm and the knee and the headlock. And I do degree in this anatomy, some are almost done with it. Let's have some fun. Let's have the hook of the core and then just connect to the pattern. Feel like up to the ankles, flexible, very deep. These are both different stands. So we got the hot let's so we get lost with the start with the long and we're going up high with the hands big over the top and as long as before we stop the essential sound and shining up. Show the world that you're doing work. Responsibility, arms open, so keep it check and stay in school and strong and smart and surely be the best of the best of the best. Stage so I can give him back his Trixie. What? Let's hear this gentleman. Trixie's best magical princess.
Afterwards was Calibo Bella, and her that was, surprisingly, full of acoustic goodness that only RailPony could probably dish up.
Right now, I'm just going to show you something that's on my CD. I hope you like it.
Is Jurgen down there? Yeah. Oh, okay. How long do you guys want to stay? I don't think he's going to be on until later. Okay, come back and check with me by 9 o'clock, okay? Okay, thanks. But sometimes my focus falls and my mind strains. Attention has a price to be paid.
I
nothing. Regular guys just can't cut it for me. Having a stallion, who will I see? I need someone who's got the guts to handle all of me. So pretty baby, oh no, 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 don't be shy. I'm a hero with no rhinos to ride. Beefcake, steroids, bony, whatever you name it, I wanna be your little brony. You are my snowflake in this blizzard of love. Oh, oh, oh. Well, they say that I'm picky, don't want to stick around if things get too sticky, but you're the goal that has it all. A lot of finesse, really big muscles. I don't know what to do. I just can't stop thinking of you. It's cold outside, but don't leave me alone. I need a little pony I can call my own. Oh, I can't see myself falling in love with anybody else. I hope one day they'll finally see you're the one and only for me. Hey, beefcake, steroids, bony, whatever your name is, I'm gonna be your little brony. You are my snowflake in this blizzard of love. Oh, oh, beefcake, road rage, I don't care. I wanna be your man. You are my snowflake in this blizzard of love. In this blizzard of love. In this blizzard of love. Back tennis when the show started, come on in. I got a few tricks up my sleeve. It's time around, don't be scared, step inside. I've got nothing to hide, but they won't get this power that I found. I'm so shy in this place, I start to smile on your face and turn it upside down. It's time for the second round. What's wrong with the strange, out of whack and deranged? All the colors of the chaos rainbow. I'm the god of the new, I get so tired of blue, so I'll change your skies up yellow. I've got an act of stepping on cracks, bringing ponies all of the excitement that they lack. My hand is now reality, and your face is you smack. It's time to tell a question, yeah, the favorite god is back. We're red in the news. When insanity ensues, you think I've had my fun, but I need more. This world is gonna burn, and all of you will learn you can never be bored when you're lost in discord. It's been so many years and I've heard it all before. You just want the pain to stop, but I promise you, my dears, you have nothing to fear. Let's bring on the new year while I wait for the ball to drop. It's all over. Tell your friends. Go on now. Prepare for the end of everything you knew. It's just what I do. I'm so sorry, did I offend? We were having so much fun, I can't imagine it would end. Don't be mad, my love, it's all meant to be lighthearted. Why leave the party now, dear? The fun's just getting started. You were read in the news, Saturday ensues. You think I've had my fun, but I need more. Saturday ensues. You think I've had my fun, but I need more. This world is gonna burn, and all of you will learn you can't ever be born when your life's in disgrace. It's time we had some fun.
Jeff Burgess, one of the songwriters for Journey of the Spark, was next. And get this, he was accompanied by not only Sanchrony, but also Tarby. Man, these guys wanted to steal the spotlight bad. A bit ironic, since the band was called Bad Mayors.
Well, it tastes like any pie or Turkish delight. Alright, let's harmonize. They're mine for the tasting. Time's for the pies. That time's for the wasting. Turn around the kitchen. I'll watch from the den. I'll put it back on your apron. We'll get cooking again. Here's the move that gets my attention. Gets me into that quiet connection. Here's the move that keeps me falling in love. Here's the move that grabs me and holds me. I'm hot as sugar and you got molded. Can't fulfill me, I'm hot, you might give me a glove. You're soft to touch, your wings cut candy. The sugar's too much, but the salt isn't handy. Get like it's your recipe, turn on you on cards. Mix rolling nuts with laughter and a smile for a start. Here's my single most favorite confection. Put on and on, I need protection. Here I'm muffin is a labor. Oh no. Spread the eggs, lay it down on the counter. Breaking some silence, and I expect tomorrow. It's the candy, I just can't stop making love. The life's for me, I'm in love, baker's heaven. You're a dozen of breathable without me, you're 11. Let's beat the eggs together, it'll all be alright. But if there'll be night, we can leave them tonight. Well, mixing between. It's the flower that keeps us from breaking apart. Hello. I'd like to welcome you all to Polish Dog Day 2. We had some great bands before us, we had some great bands coming up after.
Next up is Dapperjack, who is our hip-hop entrant for the musicians.
then of course the fisting comes. Why? I'm a true gentle pony, right fit tight as a T-nosy, but rather not a weakling. I'll be yours till you're rosy, bringing out new rhymes. All cowardly seems on to you, but there's my policy, cracking out fresh beats, like some trees petrifying the tracks. The chat LSD's dueling. This is my sport of choice, not running sword or bounce of voice. Dirty and cool is never my game. I just bring all the riches noise. That's right. I'm the bourgeois bee, born right out of the money tree. I was brought in tasting silver, but my life skills didn't come free. Look at me, I'm having a ball. I represent the capital. Yes, coming straight from Canton, bringing new royal raps for all. Biggest in the world. That's rap-up. Do as a flop, there's no way that I'll ever stop. I can't, I've only just begun. I'll tell you something, it's quite fun. Showing you the gaudy rhymes up. See, here's what's to be done. The jacket's the name, trap hopper's my game. Your attempts are lame, they don't sound the same. This I shall claim, you can't catch me. I'm heading for true fame. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Oh yes, the next bit here is, well, I have seen that you know about Princess Celestia and Princess Luna, and what you've heard of their exploits, it's a tad dry, so I wrote my own little ditty for their sort of...
After Dapper Attack, to close out my evening was Bernie Jesus himself, Tarby, accompanied by Don DeVore and Aviators. Man, he plays those chords good.
Be up here right now.
But
and promise that it will always be you and me. Come on! I'm sick and tired of your love. You gas me up, you bring me down. You got me to the deepest side. Now I'm good. As y'all can probably tell, I need to take it. Love you too. Anyway, as y'all can probably tell, I need to take a second to fix these strings. They're new. I apologize. Ugh. Ugh. But in the meantime,
that was another great set. Sadly, the battery's going low again, and this time I have a cart empty. And also I need some good rest for tomorrow up. So yeah, unlike last year, I'm deciding to come back in the afternoon, that is. And hopefully I'll be prepared by then. So, yeah, there was some pretty awesome sets. So, see you in day 3, I suppose.